This is the Hannibal podcast, Season 3, Episode 10, The Woman Clothed in the Sun, on TV Podcast Industries. Ciao, welcome back, Fannibals. This is Hannibal on TV Podcast Industries, the podcast about the hit TV show Hannibal. I'm one of your hosts, Irene.
And I'm one of your other hosts, Bellissimo John.
And we are your Fine Young Hannibals. We are here to delve from the tableau to the table and everything in between for Season 3 of Hannibal, the incredibly tasty TV series. This week we look at episode 10, entitled The Woman Clothed in the Sun.
But she was actually not clothed for very long in parts of this episode, so obviously something we will get back onto. But the potentially the woman clothed in the sun was not clothed at all, and she had the red dragon on top of her, humping away.
Well, we didn't see that.
We didn't.
We saw side boob, though.
Well, exactly. We saw something, a writhing dragon on the bed, but we'll come to that.
And because of that content and others, this is a mature podcast, so there may well be swearing, discussion about murders, gore, and horror topics, and quite possibly screams, especially for people putting their hands in tigers' mouths.
Exactly. Tiger's mouth, Zachary Quinto's mouth, and also there'll be huge amounts of writhing Richard Armitage over a Rutina Wesley. So, yes, huge amounts
of not a bad episode.
Yeah, the rumpy-pumpy galore going on in the episode as well, no doubt. But we are part of TV Podcast Industries, just to let you know. You can find us and you can listen to us at www.tvpodcastindustries.com/iTunes. Please subscribe, and our Hannibal podcast episodes will come roaring into iTunes. You can also find us on any other good podcast catcher, such as Player FM, Podcast Addicts, Beyond Podcast, and of course Stitcher. Just search TV Podcast Industries. And you can also listen to us on our website, where you can check out our show notes as well at www.tvpodcastindustries.com. And of course, we do live tweet when Hannibal airs in Ireland and the UK, which is every Wednesday at 10 p.m. And of course, you can tweet with us, tweet at us, just simply tweet. We are at TV Pod Industries on Twitter. If you have any thoughts, any comments, or any discussion points that you want for Hannibal Season 3, any aspect of Hannibal, this episode, previous episodes, or indeed the podcast, you are more than welcome as well to send in feedback at tvpodcastindustries.com. That's feedback at tvpodcastindustries.com. And of course, in each episode, we podcast and look at the murder tableau for each episode, straight through to the table that Hannibal has produced, or food that has been enjoyed by other protagonists. And of course, in between, we look at 3 of our main or favourite points from each of the episodes: an entree, a main course, and a dessert, with coffee notes for afterwards. Of course, the writers, Brian Fuller, you in particular, are making it very difficult for us to stick to this structure. Incredibly challenging. I think we've risen to the occasion, though. I think we have got ourselves a tableau, and we have ourselves a table, but not in the traditional sense of the word, of food, or in fact a death or a murder.
Basically, we've redefined it.
Exactly.
Completely.
It is artistic license like you've never, ever seen before. But you probably have.
So, John, do you want to give us the synopsis? Kick us off.
Certainly will. This episode, episode 10, and The Woman Clothed in the Sun, was directed by Guillermo Navarro. He's been directing previously this season already. And it was written by Don Mancini, and of course Brian Fuller was at the helm, as always, helping to steer the Hannibal ship. With 11 days till the next lunar cycle, both Francis Dolarhyde and Will Graham seek the counsel of Hannibal Lecter. Will seeks to consult on the nature of carvings found and retrieved in the surrounding woodland at each of the murders, whilst Dolarhyde, over the phone, wants to share his transformation with a man he admires and expresses his wish to meet Hannibal. At the same time, he hallucinates seeing himself in all his glory as the Red Dragon, proud in front of Hannibal. Dolarhyde also develops his relationship with Reba McClane as he takes her on a sensory tour of the zoo, his house, and finally his bedroom. Meanwhile, Will also catches up to Bedilia du Maurier, and both discusses their experiences with Hannibal. Du Maurier states that she learned the power in the alchemy of lies and truths from Hannibal, and suggests that Graham has also learned from Hannibal, and that he too is capable of righteous violence. Finally, Dolarhyde goes to a museum exhibition where the original copy of the Great Red Dragon and the woman clothed in the sun is being held. He devours the painting, believing it will free him from the beast's influence. But has the Great Red Dragon walked too far into the light? For as Dolarhyde goes to leave the gallery, an unexpected person arrives also to view the painting, putting Dolarhyde's identity in jeopardy.
Bum, bum, bum.
Dun, dun, dun. Great episode. Loved it. I don't know about you off the bat, Irene, but this was, I thought, really, really good. I really enjoyed this episode.
I actually thought the pacing was a bit off or something.
Oh, okay.
I enjoyed the episode, and we had more Dolarhyde, which we both had said last time that we wanted more of him.
Yeah.
But there was something a bit off.
Okay, interesting.
I thought so.
Yeah. But, I think with that, we should get into the meat and two veg of the podcast and move to the not-so-murder tableau for this episode. This is a huge knockout tableau, in fact. And I think last week we mentioned about there was the kitty cat tableau where it was in the box, dead. So whilst not strictly any murders in this episode, there are a number of people knocked out, and in particular, a tiger at a zoo. So do we have a kitty tableau for you this week, or do we have a kitty tableau? Again, it's the closest thing we have in this episode to a murder and to a death, along with, and I have to say, there has to be an honourable mention for the poor museum or gallery curator who was coshed over the head by Francis Dolarhyde. There's another a poor person who has been, brutally knocked out, just in the same way as this tiger.
But at least she'll survive. She'll wake up with a headache. He just needs to get past her.
Yeah, exactly. At least he's not killed her like the poor families.
Yeah,
exactly. But moving to the tiger at the zoo, and obviously this is a situation that has been brought about by Dolarhyde. He's brought Reba McClane to the zoo to touch and feel this tiger. This is where he's getting the film, the infrared film, probably also for his murders, but also this is his excuse. This is his work that he's doing, or part of his work that he's doing. He obviously has some connection with this zoo. And I actually think, for me, this whole scene between the two of them as they arrive at the zoo, for him to essentially allow her to touch and feel and, in essence, show her the tiger, I think is absolutely fantastic. I think it really shows their relationship developing. I love the way the camera movement has a soft image and a soft focus, especially for McClane. It's very cool. Like, the lens moves in and out of focus as it's around her. In the same way, I think that you saw in Marvel Netflix's Daredevil, that idea of a blind protagonist, and how you depict that potential blindness through different camera and lens techniques. And I kind of got the feeling that these lovely sort of soft boundaries to the framing of Reba McClane's face was that. And then, of course, it turns into this hugely intimate moment as well between her and the tiger, between her and her experience, all being given to her by Francis Dolarhyde, and just the way she asks him, she calls him D as well. I love that kind of little nickname that she has for him. I don't know about you, Irene. Just the fact that she calls him D or Mr. D, I just think it's really, really nice.
I thought I'd misheard that first, and then I was like, no, because obviously Francis isn't the best. No offense to any Francis listening, but D is really nice, isn't it? It's really quite quickly they have the intimacy up and running.
Yeah, and I mean, certainly we'll discuss it later, but it gets even more intimate, actually. I mean, this is only, this is step one, really. But it is really, really cool. Like, I love the fact she says, tell me what you see. And he says, stripes so striking, orange so vivid, it's bleeding into the surroundings. And just that imagery of this really vivid orange, cut against the black stripes of the tiger. It's kind of almost lifting like a dust off.
And it was the way it was shot. It was like it was bleeding into the air around.
It was really cool. And then the piano, the music for this scene, to me, just absolutely was incredible. The whole thing was absolutely gorgeously crafted in my views. And I'm going to say it here and now. To me, this was actually the best scene so far, actually, of season 3. I just loved it. And then I loved how it pulled back to a terrifying moment, as you've said, the big cat incisors. Oh my goodness. Amazing.
Like Francis, like, I thought he was going to scream. Like, he's trying really hard not to scream. And I'm sure she can sense how nervous he is. Like, the closer her hand gets, and then she puts her hand into the tiger's mouth.
I know. I was
he's losing his mind.
I know. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God.
Tiger's going to wake up. Tiger's going to wake up. Tiger's going to wake up.
And I mean, Francis Dolarhyde, he looks absolutely terrified. And I mean, the whole thing was terrifying for the viewer. Well, for me it was anyway. I mean, really, really terrifying for the viewer.
Yeah. Because when she said to him, I didn't get any sympathy from you, and I like that. And you're thinking, well, that's because he's a psycho, love, but you don't know that yet. But then you're going, oh, he actually does he has empathy there. He's really worried for her. He's afraid for her. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's really interesting. It's a real good exploration of this person who is wanting to become this all powerful. What humanity does he have left in there? It's kind of a bit like with Hannibal. What humanity is left in Hannibal, despite how he may perceive the world, perceive other human beings. And the same with Dolarhyde. And here we see quite an intimate exchange between them, not in terms of sexual or touching, but in what they're doing together, and what she quite obviously is absolutely adoring. I mean, I love how she rests her head on the fur of the tiger. And, actually, that's mirrored, I think, a bit later on in the episode back at Dolarhyde's house, I think. It seemed to be to me, but...
when he's doing the same.
Yeah, and she begins to cry. Like, she's completely overwhelmed with the whole situation that's essentially been given to her as a gift by Dolarhyde, this sensory gift of touching it, but also being told what it looks like, and probably, that heightened sense of smell and of touch. I mean, really, really cool, I thought. I've probably gone a bit overboard there.
No, that's exactly it, though. Like, it really built up. Because when they walk in and she says to him, tell me what you see, and then she starts touching the tiger, and it just builds. Like, it is really sexual the way it's done.
It is,
her connection with him is growing more and more intense and more intimate, and she gets in really close to him, and then she's lying on him, like, nearly, and then she starts crying. So it's like the crescendo at the end of the build up, like, and then you see them having sex. There's definitely a parallel there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's almost like the Tristan Isolde's kind of love death or whatever it is, where it goes to the climax. And that's what I thought with the piano. I just thought it was absolutely amazing. And I mean, you know, hats off to Richard Armitage, to Rutina Wesley, and to the tiger. I don't know how it stayed still for so long. But but I mean, hats off to the two of them as actors. Great scene. Absolutely loved it. You know, really, really enjoyed it. But I think, have you got any other thing that you picked out from that, Irene?
I thought that the parallel, and then I thought everything, like the colours, the lights, it seemed to get brighter. Even the orange on the tiger, when he says that it bleeds into the atmosphere, then you notice that it is.
Yeah.
And I actually, when I put it back, I was like, no, it did brighten. The colour and the lights did heighten, and it really played up the intoxication that she was feeling because the tiger was under her touch. And maybe because she can't see it in some ways, she's more able to appreciate the strength of it. And like, I mean, I'm sure, maybe she doesn't. No, she does probably know what a tiger looks like. But
maybe. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure whether she was blind from birth or whether she lost her sight after having a period of time with vision.
When he asked her in the kitchen, she said she had sight, but I can't remember what age.
Okay.
Shit.
Yeah.
Sorry. But anyway, I'm sure she knows how rare it is that she would be able to touch a tiger.
Yeah.
You know, so, and she obviously really appreciates it, like, and she's really touched.
Oh yeah, absolutely brilliant. I mean, intimate, gorgeous, sensual, visual, terrifying, all in one scene, and with essentially, other than the opening dialogue at the start, that whole thing builds just around the music and her flowing across the tiger's body as she touches it. It's really, really cool.
And you know, the paintings are William Blake's paintings.
Yeah.
And he wrote Tiger, Tiger, Burning Bright.
Ah, there we go.
That's definitely, I think that's what Guillermo Navarro is trying to show.
Great connection, though. Good spot, Irene. Yeah, no, well, that makes even more sense then. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously.
And that was a poem.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Tiger with a Y, for anyone to go and Googling.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, I think, that's a great knockout tableau to begin with. It's certainly a step up from the kitty cat tableau from last week as well.
Yeah, he gave his life for that scene, John.
I know. You know what I mean? That, like, last week we had the domestic cat in a shoebox. This week we have a graceful lion, obviously under anesthesia, about to have something done to it, or it has just had something done to it. So, you know, the majestic cat, the tiger. It was great. Loved it. And that's a really nice link as well with Blake, I reckon, as well.
Yeah.
Cool. So this is the point where we now will move on to our 3 points. We'll look at an entree, a main, and a dessert, and maybe finish off with some coffee notes, depending on how much we get through. But Irene, what's your entree for this week from the episode?
My entree is Will and Bedilia having a little chat about all the ways the Hannibal is just the worst. I didn't really get the point of this scene. I don't know. It felt slightly shoehorned in there to me. I don't know why Will is talking to her when he can talk to Hannibal. Mm-hmm. Unless he just wanted to say to her, I want to let you know that I've seen through you and you're fooling nobody. But she already knew that, I think. I don't really know why Brian Fuller put that in there. Like, the only thing I could think was that it's to play up the more and more the resonances with the book. So maybe that's it, you know, because the lines between Will and Francis are more blurred and they both consult with Hannibal and they both incorporate women. So I don't know, but Bedilia just didn't really seem a natural fit for me.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about where she's giving the lecture about being held captive, and Will kind of walks in, takes a seat, and then immediately begins to have the conversation with her about their journey to hell and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I on a general point, I really liked the fact that Bedilia shows up again. I'll definitely, I think that is a really good thing. I love the fact that this show keeps these parts relevant to an extent. I mean, obviously you disagree with that in this case, but I love the fact that their time remains on the show and they pop up from time to time. I was just kind of surprised to see her lecturing like that. So obviously, we're now led to believe that everyone bought her story, that she was frazzled off her face with drugs, that essentially it was almost like Stockholm syndrome, where she'd been held captive against her will, gradually being brought round to the fact that, she did become Lydia Fell in her mind because she had been told it and had been persuaded of it for so long.
It felt like a vehicle. It was just a vehicle, I think, to tell the Zachary Quinto story. And
I think so. Yeah. I think so. But I did like some of the quotes that came from that. I love the fact that the journey begins in hell. Is Hannibal actually the dragon? And that she talks about Dante and the gates of hell versus the mouth of hell. And she goes, my journey to hell began when I was swallowed whole by the beast. So is Hannibal the beast? Is Hannibal the dragon? And actually the one thing that I liked about it was then, does this mean that Hannibal's relationship with Dolarhyde is a bit of a red herring in a sense, in that does he see Dolarhyde as having delusions of grandeur, that he's the red dragon, that he's the devil, when in fact Bedelia's kind of just made the point that she thinks Hannibal is the devil and she was swallowed by him. But then are they both the devil? And can that be? So I liked it from that point of view, where it suddenly threw up in my mind. She's referring to Hannibal as the dragon here. Whereas Dolarhyde thinks he's becoming and transforming into the great red dragon, into the devil. Does Hannibal's influence on Dolarhyde, is he just simply thinking, here's a little pipsqueak who's showing up, thinks he knows me and thinks he can sort of flatter me, and he thinks he is the big almighty muscular powerful beast from those Blake paintings, when in fact it's Hannibal. So I like that notion. I really did like that. And I like the idea that, you don't seem to have learnt your lesson. Again, it's a reiteration of saying, what are you doing? I mean, in a sense, it's what we've been saying to him. You haven't learnt your lesson. What on earth are you doing going back to Hannibal, even for a split moment, And she goes on, did you, love him that much? And that it was that she talks about crossing over the veil to be with Hannibal, but Will was always on the other side. So I kind of like those notions, but I do agree with you. I think that it didn't seem natural that Will would go back to Bedilia to essentially call her out on something that really she'd been called out on before.
Yeah, like he's kind of like they show him just saying, insulting her, like, you didn't lose yourself, you just curled so far up his ass he couldn't be bothered. And
I love that though. I did like that. I mean, that was a good put down. I mean, I suppose in some ways it would have just been good if it had been done in Italy rather than here.
Yeah. And I know what you're saying. Like, obviously their conversation is good to watch, but I kind of don't know. I just thought it felt a bit shoehorned in. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I can understand where you're coming from with that. I mean, I do think that this episode was very much the episode of, like, quotes. And, I mean, I was taking down a lot of quotes because I thought some of the language and the dialogue was absolutely amazing. I thought it was really nicely done, and I thought there was a nice flow to it. And I mean, I suddenly thought, how does anyone, I mean, literally anyone, sit down with Brian Fuller and have a regular conversation?
You'd spend the whole time sending yourself emails, like, quotes. I must use that again.
Absolutely. Remember to appear thoughtful and intelligent.
Kind and yet with a black side at the same time. It's like with a dark side.
Exactly. Or maybe it's Don Mancini. Maybe he's the one. But I mean, it was really, really, really good. The dialogue in this episode, I have to say. But I can understand that, definitely.
Can I just say what you're saying about Hannibal? I think Dolarhyde believes that Hannibal is the devil that's making his transformation complete. He says to him, "I want to be recognized by you, the dragons, as the dragon sat before 666 in Revelation." And Hannibal, I think you're right. Like, he's happy for him to think that he needs him as part of his process. But we know Hannibal. If you think that, chances are he's the one who's in control, and you don't realize it until it's too late.
Big time.
Big
time.
So
yeah.
Dolarhyde thinks that he thinks Hannibal is helping him to become, but he doesn't realize that he's not. Hannibal's probably more in control of what he'll become than he is.
Yeah. Hannibal's still got that manipulation going on. And I think actually it kind of leads me into my my point is just Dolarhyde consulting with Hannibal. I like the idea that we see how Dolarhyde gets that call into Hannibal at the Baltimore State Hospital.
It wasn't what we thought. He can't just get calls from anybody. Yeah, that makes more sense.
It does. It was really, it kind of really just helped to explain that, and I thought that was really good. But then I absolutely loved how Dolarhyde went from being sat behind the desk and he looks across from the desk.
At himself.
At himself, exactly. Having a consultation with Hannibal.
Yeah.
And presumably then this is the whole other side of the conversation that we hear that Hannibal and him are having on the phone. But again, he's kind of losing himself in his own imagination and hallucination. And I love this full transformation. Last week we got the tail coming, and this we see full on Red Dragon sort of in a pose. And I have to say, I still look towards his crotch. I still want to know whether the Red Dragon has
how long his tail is.
Yeah, exactly. I was trying to be very mature about it and go, wow, that's amazing. But I was still kind of looking for just his crotch, is the one there, or is it like a Barbie doll? And
it's just like a smooth Ken area.
Exactly. And it was... That's because of going to see Fantastic Four for Defenders TV podcast, and we had the same conversation about The Thing, whether does The Thing have essentially a rock cock, or is it Barbie doll or Ken doll, just flattened, and I do think that we did come to the conclusion that there was a suspiciously long rock on the Thing to warrant it maybe being called a cock. So with that, of course, all things related to the train smash that is Fantastic Four, the movie, you can find over on defenderstvpodcast.com/iTunes, where myself, Chris, and Derek. Irene was invisible for that. She was lucky enough not to have to sit through 1 hour 40 minutes of absolute turge.
I was pre-warned by my kind friends.
Yeah, not a good film. But in comparison, we have a fantastic TV show here in Hannibal. And I mean, just that whole transformation into the full-on Red Dragon, I just thought was so striking. And again, I loved the dialogue here between the two. I loved that switch to the psychiatrist session. I thought that was very cool. And I love that, that I want to be recognized by you, says Dolarhyde. Hannibal goes on, as John the Baptist recognized the one who came after. It's also biblical and gorgeous and rich. It's really amazing. Yeah, and he goes, I want to sit before you as the dragon sat before 66 in Revelations, like you said there, Irene. And of course, that's episode 12. That's 2 episodes from now. That's the title of that. The number of the beast is 666. And again, that's one of Blake's paintings. So again, another nice little reference and nod to Blake here. And he kind of goes on to say that one day I'd like to meet you. So you can meld with the strength of the dragon. And it was just then he transforms, and you have Hannibal there going, "Did he who made the lamb make thee?" And it's so rich in dialogue, and I loved it. I really, really liked this, and I think that's where it comes back. Where I think is Hannibal just really again playing with this person for his own ends, maybe as an escape from Baltimore State Hospital, because he's certainly have that moment where he asks to phone his solicitor, and then fiddles with the receiver on the phone and gets through to Chilton's publishing office to get a book sent to Will. Now, at this stage, I'm not entirely sure what the purpose of that was, but I'm sure that's going to play out in another episode sort of coming up, whether it's episode 11 or 12, I don't know, but
we'll see.
We'll see, but I really, really like this transformation. I don't know what about yourself, Irene?
Oh, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I loved how happy he looked when Hannibal said it's not important what body you're currently occupying. I really like, because he's like, Hannibal believes it too, that the transformation is happening. This isn't all in his head.
Yeah.
He's like vindicated, like and he's imagining himself in therapy with Hannibal, and he tells him, that he's collected all his press notices and his unfair reviews. I love when he said that, unfair reviews, and that he hates the name the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to be recognised by you. Yeah, I just thought it was great. That was really good.
Yeah, really good. And maybe that's why I wonder whether the Chilton book, that publication, is something to do with that notion that he dislikes what he's being called. And the fact is that Chilton's the author. Like, it would be interesting to know. But yeah, it was so good. And I loved how Hannibal was, in a sense, he was really caring.
He's quite great. He was beyond gracious. Yeah, he was actually quite fond of him.
He talks about his speech being bent and pruned by disabilities that are like kind of whether they're real or imagined. But he goes, your words are startling. I mean, it's just he's kind of mindful that Dolarhyde has this disability in relation to his cleft palate, I think. We think it is. But nonetheless, that doesn't make him be any less startling or bold or majestic, even in a kind of disturbing sense, really interesting, I thought, how Hannibal kind of played with that, definitely.
Yeah, he doesn't seem bothered by him. Like, you wouldn't be sure how Hannibal would react to somebody like Dolarhyde, because Hannibal isn't insane, whereas poor Francis clearly is.
Poor Francis.
Poor Francis. Poor D. I'll call him D as well. I like that.
Yeah, no, D. Little D.
Little D. Oh.
Well, big D, maybe. Who knows? Still can't tell. I'm not saying that I, paused and freeze framed through. I'm not saying I did that, but I don't think. I think it's fairly gender neutral down there on the Great Red Dragon.
Yeah, it all goes into the tail. Yes. For swishing.
Swishy. Speaking of swishy, let's swish on to the main course, Irene. What have you got for your main? What are you getting your teeth into?
I am hopefully not illegally going to go back to the morning after the night before, when Dolarhyde wakes up in his house.
Yeah.
And obviously Reba's not in the bed. And for a moment I went, has he done something and he doesn't remember? Has he done something as the Red Dragon and he doesn't remember as Francis Dolarhyde? And he's genuinely looking. I thought he was going looking for her. But then it seemed that he went up to the attic. And I thought, is he there to make sure she didn't find like his press clippings and stuff? But obviously she's blind, so maybe that wouldn't matter. But then I was like, oh no, he's actually going up there because the noises or the voices are starting. But he only has a brief moment of that. So it is like a kind of a therapy or something for him that, well, obviously she's good for him, and he obviously thinks so as well. And then he just goes back down and she's sitting there. But I thought that moment up in the attic was really interesting. He barely starts to touch his head, and then it stops.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of is that because of her, or was he just in the middle of looking for her, and that's kind of that just happened to happen while he was there?
Yeah, I know. It was difficult to know whether he was kind of running up to that room because he was panicked, as she said, that maybe she would not necessarily know that he's killed people, but like there's the painting, or there's a copy of the painting up there. He's got his broken mirror, his fragmented mirror. There's obviously, other things up there that he would, want to hide from people who still have their vision intact. But it was like he was panicked by the fact that she wasn't there, and had found that attic. I kind of thought that to begin with, as well. And then,
Not just me.
yeah, I mean, there's that notion of maybe the noises are that kind of communication with his inner psyche that, because obviously we're getting close to him wanting or having to strike again in the cycle of the moon and the lunar cycle. But
Exactly, yeah.
whether there was this idea that it's to make McClane his next victim.
I really hope that's not true.
No, I do.
Doesn't. Yeah.
But I think that he doesn't want to be. I think she is, to an extent, drawing out his humanity, because she treats him as absolute normal. She really does. She doesn't have that frame of reference to with her sight to immediately recoil. But
no, I don't. Yeah, I mean that's what he thinks that people would.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like hubba hubba, nobody's going to recoil. But and she says to him, people find him mysterious, and that the people in the office find him quite handsome. And you're going, this is the whole thing. It's all genuine, and it's, the affection that's there is real, and it's just like this elaborate exercise in trust. He's trusting her, not that she knows to what extent, but I mean, he's trusting her hugely.
Oh, hugely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was just going to say, it's that kind of goes on to, I suppose, my kind of point was just this whole thing where, he has the hallucination of her sort of bathed in sunlight. Again, that hallucination coupled to then when he actually wakes up and she's not there, and then the voices in his head, whether this is, if she is actually the woman clothed in the sun, and in the painting with the red dragon, the serpent has his devil tail wrapped around it, holding the woman clothed in the sun down on the ground. This dominance, trying to destroy, the representation of Jesus's mother Mary, the Virgin Mary, and all this kind of notion of the religious iconography of this piece, and that he has to kill her then because she is, Jesus's mother. I don't know, but that's kind of how I took it, because he'd seen that hallucination. But it was difficult to know. But I loved the lead up to that. I really liked them back at the house. I like the fact that she seems to have been able to get under Dee's skin. That she says that, he's sensitive. She's asked people about him and what he looks like and what he's, he says that people call him mysterious at Gateway where she works, and that while she's didn't ask, they have told her that you're sensitive about your face, but that you shouldn't be. I would agree with that. And that you have a hard, clean appearance, all this kind of thing. And I just love the fact that then this just leads up into a kiss. I think potentially a blowjob. He drops his martini, which
I hope that's what she was doing. Otherwise,
well, that's what I was thinking, because I was thinking, oh, what a waste of a martini. But then I thought probably not, if she's just, obviously gone down on him. He's probably really quite enjoying that, as is she probably, because then they get whisked off to the bedroom. And I love this sweet, sweet dragony love. The
dragony love.
Yeah, the shoulders, just the camera looking down on the bears and just seeing the writhing back of Richard Armitage with that huge tattoo on. It's really, really, really cool. And I just think it actually made so much sense following the experience in the zoo's operating table where the tiger had been knocked out, and that whole scene, it just made absolute sense that this would be the result of that. And I really, really liked it. And then obviously, moving back to the hallucination the next day, whether this is a signal from his inner self that he needs to get rid of her because he's getting too close to her or too attached to her, that this is, the woman clothed in the sun trying to destroy the forces of evil or the forces of becoming and transforming into the Red Dragon. It's the last, bringing out the last vestiges of his humanity, from his sort of psychosis that he's in. So I really love this. I love the development of these two characters so much.
It's like like the other parallel between him and Will, that he's got the possibility of what could be maybe a normal life with Reba. If they fall in love and stay together, and he could have a normal life, and the other path that he's on is, God, I can't even say a million miles away, like a billion miles away. And what he's trying to transform into, and what he feels is his real self, his proper essential truth of himself.
Yeah.
And now, like it is the distraction, and I hope it doesn't mean that he has to kill her. I hope it doesn't. I hope she manages to do a Bedilia and escape.
Me too. So Irene, what is your dessert? What are you having for dessert? Is it a big creamy meringue, or is it maybe a big pudding?
It's somewhere in the middle, actually. I was thinking like Eton mess.
Oh, lovely.
Because it's actually sunny for once as well. I was going to talk a little bit about Will when he's speaking to Hannibal. And Hannibal is explaining to Will the importance, the significance of the Tooth Fairy's allusions to the Red Dragon and William Blake's paintings. And I was kind of surprised that Hannibal told him that, but maybe, it's part of his little bit of control, the knowledge is power thing. And he's saying to him that few images in Western art radiate such a charge of demonic and nightmarish sexuality. And that he believes that as the dragon grows, more families will die. And he says, I like this dragon, Will. I don't think he's crazy at all. And you're going, well, he is. And you're very clever, so you probably know he is. I thought that was really, I was going, okay, what are you doing? Because obviously Will isn't going to think somebody who's doing this is sane. He believes that Hannibal is, probably because he knows him.
Yeah.
But come on,
It is. It's that notion that Hannibal is again toying with these people, with Will, but also with Dolarhyde, and that he is like the kitten with the mouse, playing with it even though it's still alive, and can sort of has the power over this small, in his mind, this small life or lives. And he's done that all the time, and he's now doing that behind, 5 inches of perspex in a clinically insane state hospital in Baltimore. So it's really interesting to see that. I think it also just echoes Dolarhyde consulting with Hannibal, that, again, are these similarities between Will and Dolarhyde in terms of their need to associate and talk to Hannibal, this one focus. I really like that kind of idea of Will going back and consulting with Hannibal. And there's a great capture of Hannibal and Will in the reflection, where as they move towards the perspex, there's the reflection of Will, and it kind of almost stands within Hannibal. I don't know whether that's on purpose or whether it was just accidental, but I suspect it was by by my design, says director Guillermo Navarro. It was definitely really cool, just that the merging of Will's reflection with Hannibal in the perspex. So I really like that. Again, the notion that Will is like Hannibal. So I really like that. But obviously, it was a great little consultation there. And again, with the wood carvings from last week, this is a Chinese symbol that symbolizes a dragon within Chinese culture. So again, a really nice little nod back to the episode before as well.
Yeah. And John, are you having an eclair? You have some eating mess? Have some eating mess.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have some dessert. It's something we've touched on already, and that's Bedilia. And I've kind of already said that I like the way the show keeps parts that you think may have been done or would have been done in other shows, but I love the way they keep them relevant. And in particular, I really liked that her innocence was kind of removed a bit in this episode. I mean, firstly, I was like, is she killing Neil Frank? Is she killing him, or is she trying to help him? And that's really difficult, but she's incredibly dubious in this second conversation that she's having, which has the flashbacks to that session with Neil Frank, where he then dies, or essentially is murdered by Bedilia, because she's chucked her hand and arm down his throat and suffocated him, and he's choking on his tongue anyway. But she's got more in common with Hannibal than previously thought, and actually she's a bit of a badass. I kind of like that. She has been a bit dubious. You wonder why she's hanging around with Hannibal. In fact, earlier on in the season, she looked damn right petrified of him. But now we're starting to see maybe a slightly more evil, a more cold, a more compassionless kind of person here. And she really, brings this out with the whole bird on the floor analogy with Will, saying, she talks about how Neil Frank would look at that bird on the floor and think it was vulnerable and try and rescue it. My first thought, and only my first thought, is that when I see it, I see that it's vulnerable and I want to crush it. And that's a real calculated Bedilia here, I think. And she kind of makes the point to Will at the end of this, is that maybe next time you see the bird, you should crush it, so that you don't have any problems, or in future. It's kind of it solves a lot of things, being ruthless and calculated and essentially a bit mean. And I like this new side of Bedilia. I thought it was an interesting new shade brought to her, definitely.
I like the way she says, I'm under no illusion how consistent my compassion has been. That's so calculating.
It is, isn't it?
It's like I wouldn't allow myself to feel that, because that wouldn't be appropriate. I keep a lid on it.
Yeah.
How is one murder? Yeah, that's how is one murderer worthy of compassion and not another? And Will says to her if she ever thought of killing Hannibal, and she says, "Well, my relationship with him isn't as passionate as yours." It's like God. It's like the trip when they ran away to Europe together last time. Everybody has to comment on the romance. Leave them alone.
Yeah, I mean, it's like she really doesn't like Will. That
No,
she's
she
kind
doesn't.
of, you're a bit weak and a bit kind of out of your depth here.
Yeah.
She really has that feel to her. And I mean, her treatment, I think, of Neil Frank is equally horrendous, for someone who's come to her for help, that she essentially is kind of saying, well, I would do exactly what Hannibal would have done, and what he's prescribed, I would prescribe exactly the same pills. And I mean, Zachary Pinto kind of really says this is all culty and weird as it starts
culty. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it was really good. Just, it's so that you're kind of in bed together with one another. I should never have come here. And I think he's right. I think ultimately Bedilia is a bit of a reflection, I think, of Hannibal to some extent.
Oh, yeah. And he says you're as twisted as he is, and you're thinking, Jesus, I think he's right.
Yeah.
I didn't actually see it really before, but yep.
and the quote, I've just found it, is that Bedilia goes, next time, maybe decide to crush someone instead. It will save you a great deal of trouble. It's just like, what are you doing? I mean, that's Hannibal. You know, that sometimes it's this notion, compassionate violence, reasonable violence.
But she lost a bit of her objectivity with Hannibal. Like Will says, he dared to care. And I think that's true. Like she did. Hannibal managed to manipulate her, even though they're similar. There's similarities, but he's still the king.
Exactly. He is the king, and she's learned an awful lot. And I love it's the alchemy of lies and truth, that, being honest and telling the truth, or mixing those up, that white lie that has bigger implications than you would immediately think, for Hannibal is hugely significant and important to manipulating people. That was really, really interesting, I thought.
The way when Hannibal came over and she said that he had attacked her, that Neil Frank had attacked her, and he said, do you want my help? And we were going, oh God, no, you never take help from Hannibal, because that's definitely going. And then you're wondering, did she do that on purpose? Because maybe she did that so that he would help her, and actually she was kind of manipulating him.
It could be. Like, she's shown to be pretty manipulative, definitely, here.
And what happened wasn't what she said happened.
No.
He didn't attack her. Actually, you can't help but feel very sorry for him.
Exactly. But it's one of those things where I was thinking, it doesn't look like she's trying to kill him. I mean, he is trying to keep her away from him.
Yeah.
Like, he's suspicious of what she might do.
Yeah, in fairness, the blood is coming from his mouth before she actually puts her hand into it.
Exactly.
So maybe she was trying to clear an obstruction, and it was too late.
But then she decided that he was vulnerable and I will crush it. And so she just kept on going.
Yeah. She's in there up to her elbow.
I know. It's like birthing a cow or something, but from the wrong hole.
Except the opposite. He's trying to kill something. Yeah. Because even when he said about the phototherapy session, and he sat in front of the light and he woke up in a different place and he thought Hannibal was trying to kill him. And she says, oh, no, don't be silly, kind of thing. Like, and I would have done the exact same thing as he said, to prescribe. Like, you're like, oh dear, oh.
I know. But it was quite confusing to me at one point why she was shoving her arm right down his throat. But nonetheless, it was. I liked Bedilia showing up in this episode. I definitely agree with you that it was a bit shoehorned, but I do like Bedilia, and I liked kind of what they brought, some other aspects to her character, at least shone a bit of light onto them, a bit more. So I thought that was really good.
I did like that. It was just, maybe I'm just being picky, but the way it was done, where it starts with her lecturing and it's the whole seeming like a vehicle thing that got me. But it was great to see that what had happened with Neil Frank, and it was great to see her talking to Will, and it's still developing her character, so it's great that she's back as well.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it'd be interesting if she was in prison, say, for example. But I wonder if something will happen to her. As I say, I've not read the book, so I'm not entirely sure how this is going to play out. But, can't wait indeed. Irene, do you have any coffee notes for this episode?
No coffee for me, thanks, John. Maybe after a little bit of a rest.
Yeah, no, I'm the same, I think. I think the only few notes that I kind of had from this was the idea that Hannibal was getting Chilton's book sent to Will, signed. And I just thought that overall, some really good dialogue in this episode, and it also had the hallucinations, both of the resplendent full-on red dragon, but also of potentially the woman clothed in the sun as well.
Yeah.
So I thought they were them. So just a little soupçon of coffee for me there. But I think we should move on to our table. And it's an interesting table we have this week. It's not the normal cuisine that you would have when sat around a table, but we do see here Dolarhyde eating a painting. He's gone to the gallery, a museum where the original Blake painting is, and he's gone to consume it. He's gone to eat it and to devour it because he believes it will free him from the beast's influence. And I kind of wondered whether by him doing this was him trying to stop transforming because of the night, because of the experience he had with McClane, that he wanted to retain his humanity. I wondered whether it was that kind of plea or shout out if this was the case.
Yeah, it is like a plea for help, isn't it?
It is.
It's like he's trying to arrest it.
Yeah.
Like he thinks that it's going to happen, and maybe possibly this is his only way of stopping the progress of the transformation.
It's like, is he trying to destroy it, or is he trying to internalize it so that his transformation is even bigger? I mean, that would be really interesting if any of the listeners, if you know, what are your thoughts on this? Because for me, I kind of thought he was trying to destroy it because of what happened with the zoo and the bedroom and his relationship developing with McClane. So it would be really interesting, you know, if you've got any thoughts or views on, you know, why he is eating this painting, then send them into feedback at tvpodcastindustries.com.
The question is, to what degree he's aware of his inner demons.
Yeah.
We know he seemed to be encouraging them by getting the tattoo, but maybe he doesn't feel like he's in control at all. You know, it depends on what way he sees it. And there is a really strong suggestion that Reba is the first thing in his life that he's ever had that makes him think that maybe the path that he's on, you know, the constant string of murders every month, isn't maybe the way to go.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, stop setting your watch to the moon and set it to Reba instead.
And basically going out howling at it covered in blood. I mean, you know, I'd say no matter who you are, there has to be something that sounds wrong about that.
Yeah. But he does look good, covered in blood under the moonlight, naked.
He does. I have to say, I'm not sure what brand they were, but shout out to the underwear makers.
Yes.
When he was walking around the house looking for Reba.
Yeah, they were pretty cool, weren't they?
Yeah. Nice cut.
Thank you, Brian Fuller. Thank you, Don Mancini, for writing huge amounts of script that said Francis Dolarhyde runs in his underwear around the house looking for Reba.
The large, creepy, dark house, clad only in the tiniest of shorts.
Must run around in his underwear for at least 5 or 10 minutes. But I was thinking, Irene, you know, talking of eating paintings, what would be your favourite painting? Or maybe a poster to eat, and why? You know, would you...
I'd never thought about that.
Would you break into the National Gallery here in Dublin to consume a Caravaggio? Maybe devour possibly a Blake painting like Dolarhyde did? Or would you, and maybe this is possibly a bit like me, would you be content simply to dust off your Aha poster or your Wham poster from the 80s and eat that, to internalise Wham or Aha? Or maybe,
I have to say, I wouldn't mind now.
Or maybe,
there's a few people I could think of.
A Korn poster. I know you're a Korn fan.
Or Tool.
Or Tool.
Yeah, it's a Maynard Keenan. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that maybe would be more appropriate, actually.
I can't help thinking that a print would be a bit cleaner as well. Like if it was an oil painting, there'd be raised bits.
Yes,
you know, bound to cut your mouth, and
the poor,
God knows what that would taste like.
Absolutely, and the poor curator said that he used chalk, didn't he? So it's really got to be protected. So if you breathed that in, it'd probably catch on the back of your throat. So yeah, maybe a poster, a print would be much better than an original.
If I'm ever in the situation where it's that dire that I'm eating something to try and stop a transformation, will you just commit me? Because I don't think you're really equipped to deal with me in that kind of a state. Like, so you could just imagine it was the sugar donut. It's like, don't breathe in because it'll hit the back of your throat and you'll cough.
Yeah.
So, just try and breathe through your nose and eat as quick as you can. Because he did seem to be kind of gritting his teeth a little bit. He was kind of grimacing.
Like, it was a great reproduction. I mean, you're there going, that must be on rice paper or something like that.
Yeah, but it wasn't at all transparent. It
No.
looked like proper quality paper.
It must have tasted awful. I think the Caravaggio donut painting, I could deal with that maybe.
You'd be a bit backed up after that, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I would say so.
It wasn't a small painting.
No. Yeah, a huge tapestry would be a nightmare to try and get down.
And your teeth would be just little stubs by the end of that as well.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
You didn't even have a glass of water.
But thankfully, we would have a gin martini prepared by Reba McClane with 2 olives on a cocktail stick.
That did look nice.
Yeah, to swig back this tasty bit of artwork. I must say, I like the way she was doing it. But are you a gin martini or a vodka martini? And if so, which of those would you have? Would you have them shaken or would you have them stirred in a Bondy type of way?
I'd have to say shaken, and it would have to be gin.
I think I'm with you, and I love olives as well.
Yeah, so do I.
The saltiness.
Say, can we have a jar of olives and pour the gin martini over it?
The saltiness of them. It also goes with one of my other favourite cocktails, which would be a margarita with the salty rim.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, salty rim. Yum. Oh. Would you, Irene, have would you have any other favourite cocktails? Whilst we're on the subject.
I had a blue margarita at the weekend.
Interesting.
Made with blue curacao, and it didn't work.
Oh.
And we actually said it to her. We said, that doesn't really work. And she goes, I know, but they look nice. It did look nice, but it didn't. It just tasted of
dear.
like the end of the orange juice in with the water or something. That's kind of what it tasted like.
Oh no. So it's style over substance.
Yeah.
Oh no.
You could have a Long Island iced tea.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Long Island iced tea is lovely.
Although I have to say, Reba's the ginger, that did look nice, and it would be, you could tell yourself that was being good for your stomach as well.
Yeah. So I think on that note, that brings us to an end to this episode of Hannibal. Irene, would you leave a tip? Would you return to this restaurant for another go?
I would. I think I'd fill in a comment card. I'd be one of those annoying people. I'd fill in a comment card and say, now you're to read that now. And please take those suggestions into consideration for the next visit. And maybe I could edit it a bit or something around the Bedilia thing.
Yeah.
Keep the good bits and lose the bad bits. Of which, in fairness, there wasn't that many. But yeah, I would. I'd definitely be back because I loved the Dolarhyde. I loved the tiger. Yeah. Anything, all the rest of it, I'll keep it.
Yeah.
I'd be back. 15% tip.
Cool. Very good.
How about yourself? Join me.
I would definitely come back to this. I think for me, it has one of my favourite scenes of this season so far, and that's the tiger scene. And just there was more of Dolarhyde. There was more of his relationship with McClane. I just really liked that. I really liked to see that develop. And I liked Dolarhyde and Will's sort of continuing fascination with Hannibal and those parallels as well. And obviously, there's the classic scene of him eating the painting. So that is just fantastic. That's a really big point, a really big mark to hit in adapting Thomas Harris's book. Whilst I haven't read the book, I do know, obviously, it's an iconic scene. But I think I do agree with you that Bedilia, certainly her first re-entry into Hannibal at the lecture hall, seems a bit shoehorned. I can understand that. And to be honest, I'm not too sure why they're going back over Neil Frank's murder and that flashback. And
yeah, as nice as it was to see it, I really don't like. There's not, and I hate to say this and remind people, but there really isn't. There's 3 episodes left.
Yeah.
You know, don't go back over old ground. Like, finish out the story. Like, do more character development, more plot development. Concentrate on that.
Absolutely, because I mean, even with the tableau that we have, obviously there is a murder here, and it's Neil Frank's, but it's flashback, and we've seen it before, and it didn't feel like it should be part of the tableau. But
No.
I don't know why. It didn't really have everything I think that it needed to. I mean, we could have put it there in the tableau, but I just feel it didn't seem to be connected with this episode in that sense. Because we've heard this story before. Okay, it reveals more of it, but we've heard it before. So it's strange though, but it's still a solid episode, and it just actually hints at the quality of Hannibal, that even maybe where we do have these niggles, and people will do, it still actually stands out as hugely well written. I thought some of the dialogue in this was excellent. And sometimes it might be that moment where you go, okay, this is just maybe a bit too heavy at this moment to have this there. But for me, I would definitely give this 3.5 tigers out of 5. I would even say that it could be 4 tigers out of 5, because I just think that scene was so good. I just thought everything about it, the camera work, the acting, the music, just the setting, everything was absolutely superb. It was exquisite. Really liked it.
It's not really an awful lot. Even when it's bad, it's good. It's like pizza.
Absolutely, yeah. Unless it's a pizza from 4-Star Pizza, pepperoni one, and then that's bad.
Is it? Yeah. Okay.
I think it's more oil than pizza. It was the most gross thing I've ever seen.
Oh, God.
Anyway, listeners, you don't need to know about our disgusting local pizza takeaway. Certainly when we've been dining out on Blake's iconic picture of the woman clothed in the sun. Again, another great episode. Even though maybe for us this week there were a few wobbles, we still recommend this. We would still come back for another helping at this table. And so please join us again next week when we will be looking at episode 11 of Hannibal, as we are sadly careering towards the end of season 3, and unfortunately to the end of Hannibal on TV, unless the hashtag Save Hannibal really comes up trumps, and we maybe get a season 4, we get another movie with these protagonists in, which would be excellent. But remember, you can listen to us and subscribe to us at www.tvpodcastindustries.com/iTunes or any other good podcast catcher. Just search TV Podcast Industries. And of course, you can tweet with us and at us at our Twitter handle at TVPod Industries. And please provide any feedback that you have on this episode 10, the season so far, or indeed the series as a whole, or anything to do about the books, the movies, your thoughts on how these all connect and relate to one another, the differences. Really interesting to hear. And you can send them in to us at feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com. Again, thank you so much as always for listening. It's been a pleasure, and I will say bye, ciao.
I'm upset now talking about the end.
Oh, I know.
I'll be okay.
Fannibals, thank you for listening. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.